Welcome to the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. This is episode 21, Top 5 Games That Need to Be Movies. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the games that we've been playing lately, and then we're going to do a top 5 list, which none of us know what each other's movies are.
Yeah, we don't know the top fives.
There could be some crossover, potentially.
My guess is there'll be a little bit of crossover, but who knows? Maybe not.
Usually when we go into the top 5s, we kind of have an idea of what they are and what crossover there is, but this is just totally blind.
Flying blind.
This time we decided, I guess, not to show each other our top 5s at all. So
We're mixing it up.
Yeah. Constantly evolving.
Right.
Yeah.
We're at episode 21.
Yeah.
We've made it this far.
We're coming up on a year. Who knew?
Right?
Yeah, it's been fun.
Feels like crazy that it's been almost a year.
Time's flying. Time is flying. I would say if there are any movie executives out there listening, I'm sure there are. They're going to want to pay close attention to this,
That's true.
this show. And if they use our ideas, they may want to reach out to us, right? I'm sure they're listening.
Just so there's no litigation later when they use our ideas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, thought
I'd throw that out to start.
They're immediately copyrighted as soon as they come out of our mouth on this podcast, right? That's how that works.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
it's possible.
Yeah, possible.
All right, good.
All right. Well, should we jump right into it? Who wants to go first on what we've been playing lately?
I'll go first. So I've been playing a game that has kind of a ridiculous name. It is called Fast Flowing Forest Fellers.
Okay.
Saying that 10 times fast.
I do not want to. And get this, it's designed by Freedom and Freeze.
Oh my gosh.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Right. That's a lot of Fs.
Can you say that?
I've never given that many Fs about anything.
I don't know. Was that going to make the show? I have no idea. We'll see. So this is a race game. Well, I didn't say who it was published by. This is a Rio Grande Games game. So this is a race game. You are lumberjacks, okay? The way the game works is you have a number of boards, and the boards are different sizes. And on these boards, there are rocks, there's water, and there's currents. And the currents are represented by arrows that point in a specific direction, okay? So you pick 2 or 3 boards, you put them together on these waterfalls. There's a start point, and then there's an end point at the very end. And then you have your lumberjacks that get started. Everybody has a deck of cards, and the cards are numbered 1 through 5, I think. And then you have a beaver, and the beaver is kind of a wild. So there's a guy and a lady lumberjack, and the cards are split between 1 to 5 for the guy, 1 to 5 for the lady, and then the beaver can be whatever, I guess. Thematically, I don't know why that makes sense, but that's just the way it is. So on your turn, you play a card and you move your lumberjack. If at any point your lumberjack ends its movement on a current spot, you will follow the current either backwards or forwards and then end up in a spot. The rule is if there are 2 figures in front of you, you can push up to 2. If there's more than 2 in front of you, then you can't move, even if you're in a current space, right? There are logs in the way that are jamming everything up. You can push your own lumberjack if you would like. And then whoever gets both of their lumberjacks to the end by first ends up winning the game. That's the whole thing. It's very simple. It's not hard to play at all. The reason why I like this game is because it's hilarious when you push somebody else's lumberjack onto a current and they go all the way back on the board, right? Uh-huh. And there's ways that you can kind of work out and do that. It's a little bit random, right? But when you can successfully do that, it's just awesome for you and it sucks for the other person, but it's really funny. And it's a game that's light. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So if you do get kind of screwed over, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. So that's Fast Flowing Forest Fellers. Ridiculous name, but it's actually a pretty fun race game.
So is this one you've had for a while, or did you recently pick it up? Because it's pretty old, right?
Yeah, it came out in 2008. I've had it for a long time. So I don't remember when I picked it up, but I probably got it in 2010. I've had it for well over 10 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your kids play?
Yeah. My 15-year-old has played. I haven't broken it out with my 9-year-old. She could absolutely play. It's not a hard rule set at all. And I think she'd have a good time. So maybe we'll get her into a game pretty soon here.
So
Nice.
I looked it up on BGG and I started typing fast in the search bar. And the first 8 different entries are some sort of Friedman Freeze game is what it seems like. Like all the F games are all Friedman Freeze. But when I was looking at the images here, it gives me the vibe, and some of what you were saying gave me the vibe of like a Frogger kind of a experience, which is not at all what you're describing, but like
it is definitely not Frogger.
It gives me that vibe of like Frogger and
because there's a stream
and you're hopping
logs.
on logs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You're not actually hopping
Wait,
on the logs,
Is this
but
the
I can
start
see-
of a
yeah.
transition? Because I want to go next.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, well, this game looks interesting, playing as a lumberjack. Speaking of lumberjacks,
Are you transitioning?
I'm going to talk about a game that was originally published by Lumberjacks Studio.
Whoa.
This is The Court of Miracles, which Lucky Duck Games picked up in the last couple years and is published in English. So this is originally a Lumberjack Studios game. It is designed by Vincent Bruget. Dude.
You got that right.
Nope. Vincent Bruget, Guilherme Gatrand, and the art, which is awesome and very unique, is by Ronan Tolhote. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Our apologies to pretty much everyone on that list.
Yes, right. So I'm pretty sure it's a French publisher, but this is a 2 to 5 player game. It's got a little bit of bluffing, some area majority, worker placement. It's a fairly simple game. It takes about 45 minutes to play. So I got this to the table with our buddies Dan and Mark the other night. And it takes place in 16th century Paris. And each player represents a different rogue faction within the city. And each faction is trying to gain the most renown. And so you win if you get all of your renown tokens out onto the board. You have 6 renown tokens. You do that by controlling neighborhoods or going to the market and buying bonuses that you also allow you to put out renown tokens. So in this game, there's also a track that the Penniless King is moving down, and the game will end if he makes it to, I don't know what the location is called, but it looked like there were some gallows there. So the execution space, I don't know. But if he makes it all the way down the track, then the game will end, and whoever has the most renown will win. Otherwise, if someone during the course of the game gets all 6 of their renown tokens onto the board, they will win immediately. You start out the game with 3 rogue tokens, and they each have different values on them. So on your turn, you'll place a token on the board in one of the 5 neighborhoods. Each neighborhood has 3 spots that have different rewards associated with them. Money, draw a plot card, or advance the Penniless King on his track. So you'll collect a you'll collect a reward for the spot that you select, and then you'll also get the neighborhood reward. So the neighborhood rewards are things like gain coins, gain a plot card, but then there's also one that allows you to buy within the market a bonus, and you get a renown token out by that way. There's 6 or 7 different bonuses that you can buy. Once those are bought, they're pretty much your renown token stays there. Another neighborhood bonus allows you to move any rogue token, yours or anybody else's, somewhere else on the board. There is also a bag of upgraded rogue tokens, and most of those have special abilities. Another neighborhood bonus allows you to draw a token out of that bag, and if you choose, possibly swap it with one of your tokens. So you place these tokens face down so nobody can see the value on the token. And then when 3 tokens fill a neighborhood, or sometimes the Penniless King, when he goes down the track, will trigger a standoff in the neighborhood, you determine who has the highest value rogue tokens in that neighborhood. They gain control of the neighborhood. They put out a renown token. Anytime anybody goes there in the future, they'll also get a bonus coin for controlling the neighborhood. However, the next time there's a standoff in that neighborhood, they could lose control of the neighborhood. So it's a really quick game. It's easy to set up, easy to teach, 40, 45 minutes. Like I said, we played 3-player. It felt a little wide open early on. Like there was really not a lot of blocking or people stopping you from doing what you're doing. The bluffing was kind of weak. I don't know. But the later rounds, it felt much more strategic as, Mark and Dan and I were getting more and more renown tokens out into the market space. And then it was just, okay, who's controlling the neighborhoods or who's going to gain control of the neighborhoods? There were a few really cool moves. In one turn, Mark triggered 2 standoffs. I lost 2 neighborhood control, so I got back 2 renown tokens, and I was pretty much out of the game at that point. And it came back around to me, and I could see that Dan was going to win. So basically, instead of gaining my own renown, I had to do something to block him. So there's this chess-like tug and pull, but with multiple players. I had fun. It was a good game. I think it would really shine at 4 and 5 players. I think each decision would be much more interesting. You're just trying to outmaneuver everybody else, trying to gain control of the neighborhoods, get enough coin that you can buy stuff in the market and get renown out that way. Once somebody gets 3 or 4 renown out in the market, like the game's going to end pretty soon because it's pretty easy to take over control of a neighborhood or neighborhoods to get more renown tokens. There's also plot cards that you can optionally play 1 per turn that reward you during standoffs or trigger a standoff or do some ability. So the art is beautiful.
I'm looking at it now. It looks really nice.
Yeah, I really like that. The board is kind of cut out around the buildings. So it's not just a rectangle or square board, like it's shaped around the towers of the buildings and the landscape of the city, which is really cool. It's really pretty. The cardboard tokens for the coins were kind of weak, so I busted out my Dead Reckoning metal coins, and it was perfect for the time frame. It was awesome.
I see there's a rat token.
I saw that as
well. Is there any reference to the plague?
No, there is not.
I would like to add to my list of plague games.
So that represents one of the factions, the Malégieux.
That sounds right.
I'm pretty sure that's right. That checks out.
Malégieux. Je ne parle pas français. The wood tokens that you put your team or your faction's markers in are really nice little wood things. It's a fun little game. I would really like to play this at one of our bigger game nights when we have some newer gamers that we're bringing into the hobby continually. We keep growing our group, and I think this would be a good place to try it out.
Nice.
Like I said, I think it'd shine at a higher player count. So that is The Court of Miracles, originally by Lumberjack Studio, brought to us in English by Lucky Duck Games.
So while you were sitting there trying to gain renown in Paris,
here comes.
I was actually trying to ensure that the French did not gain renown in Britain. The game I'm talking about is The King is Dead, 2nd edition.
Oh,
this is a game designed by Pierre Sylvester, published by Osprey Games. It's a 2 to 4 player game in which everybody who is playing kind of represents the behind the scene influencers of this medieval Britain trying to establish the ruler that they want in the seat on the throne instead of getting some random ruler from another country. So basically in the game, there are 3 different factions that are vying for control of the British Empire. Either the Welsh, the English, or the Scottish. And they're all represented by cubes of different colors. The French are there hanging out in France, hoping to get in and gain control of enough territories on the board that they can overthrow it and basically ruin all progress and get somebody on the throne that is manipulated and easy to kind of ensure that their French invasion occurs. So in the game, what you're trying to do is everybody gets 8 different cards, and the game plays over 8 rounds. During these 8 rounds, you can play as many cards as you want in a round, but you only have 8 cards for the entire game. So if it plays 8 rounds and you play all 8 of your cards in the first round, you sit and watch for the next 7 rounds for the rest of the game until things happen. And the reason why this is so interesting is everybody has the same set of 8 cards. So you're sitting there thinking about what cards everybody is playing and trying to ensure when does somebody play a card that allows them to do different things. Essentially on the board, what's going on is that you have a map of Great Britain and you're trying to influence these cubes to have control at the end of every round in which a specific territory is going to take control. So at the start of the game, you put 8 cards representing the different 8 territories along the side of the board. These 8 cards will be resolved at the end of the round next to the number on the board that they represent. So in the first round, you can say that there's an area on the map that I'm trying to think of which of the areas there are. So like Essex and Devon and Moray and all these other places are on these cards. And essentially at the end of every round, you're going to resolve control over that area. And to resolve control, each territory has a number of cubes in it of the different colors representing the different factions. The color that has the most cubes in that area at the end of the round will gain control of that area. At the end of the game, the faction that has the most discs is going to be the faction that is essentially becomes the king. But the interesting thing is that everybody starts with a number of cubes in front of them, 2 cubes each, and they're randomly put in front of you. So you have an idea of who you're trying to manipulate and influence so that you get control over that. That's public knowledge. Everybody can see what you're doing. And you're trying to sit there and manipulate how cubes are being pushed and moved around it. This is essentially a cube pusher. You can think of like Hansa Teutonica
yeah,
type of a experience where you're sitting there putting these cubes on the board and then you play a card so that they move to a different spot, but then somebody else can play a different card that will move them somewhere else, and you're trying to ensure that at the end of the round the cubes are where you want them to be so that you get influence. So one of the things that I forgot to mention is on your turn, if you play a card, you get to take a cube off the board, which makes this really interesting because when you take a cube off the board, it reduces the strength of the faction on the board itself, but it gives you more control over that faction. So you have this kind of balance of, do I want to remove a color, like a blue cube, for example, so that I can have 3 or 4 influence over that, but now reduce the amount of blue cubes that are on the board overall and make it harder for blue to essentially gain more control on the board. So you're trying to strike this balance between having these cubes and you're trying to ensure that the board stays in the state that you want it to be in. So at the end of the game, once everybody has played all of their cards, you determine who is the winner by checking out what color has the most control, and the player with the cubes that represent that color, the most of those cubes, is going to ultimately be the winner. It's a pretty quick game, plays in like 30, 45 minutes, and I think that you can essentially teach the game and play it in under an hour for the first time. And I had a lot of fun with this game. I thought there was a lot of really interesting intrigue. Tyler, you were mentioning Court of Miracles having that kind of chess-like kind of tactical experience. This also seems to have a lot of that, but I feel like this was all 4 of us at the table. I brought this to a bigger game night, and all 4 of us at the table had never played before. I think 3 of the people who played were like pretty new gamers, but they all picked up on it very quickly, and we had this really interesting experience. And I didn't know who was going to win until the end of the game, and I was engaged the whole time. And there's a lot I really like about this game. I'm excited to try it more.
Sounds cool. So this is a 2nd edition, right?
Correct.
So looks like 2015 was the first. Like you describing it almost seems like a throwback style game from 10, 15 years ago, you know, like classic cube pusher, you know, there's not these, you know, elaborate minis that you're pushing around on a board. It's just like you're pushing cubes, which I think those games are great. You know, there's just something about them
Well, and
that I enjoy. So
even
it
though
sounds
this
interesting.
is a very much that,
Yeah.
and it, like, I'm not trying to say this is going to be like the most striking and beautiful thing that you'll ever see, but like even that, like the presentation of the game and the board and the colors and things like that, I really enjoyed what it brought to the table, even though ultimately I'm just pushing cubes around.
Right. It's just hilarious to me when I explain a game like that, like Hansa Teutonica. Like, this is what we're doing. And believe me, it's fun. You know,
Sure.
we're pushing cubes and it's great, you know.
That's exactly what I think this kind of experience is.
It's cool.
I checked out the art of the first edition, and it's right up there with Hansa Teutonica art, I think.
Yeah, right.
I had never heard of this game until you brought it to that game night. So I didn't get to play it, but I would like to play it. It sounds like it's about similar weight as the Court of Miracles and similar time to play and teach. So that's cool. A couple of lighter games to go along with Kevin's light game of lumberjacking.
Yes. Fast flowing forest fellers.
So that was The King is Dead, 2nd edition by Osprey Games.
Well, speaking of bacon, the next game I'm going to talk about
Nobody was talking about bacon.
Still the bacon. Bacon. Did I do that right?
That's a great transition. Keep
Nobody
going.
was talking about bacon. That's half of the transition.
I never said I was good at transitions. So I played a game recently. I've been playing it quite a bit. So it's called, like I mentioned, Steal the Bacon. This is, well, it's kind of funny. I looked up the designer and it says uncredited and artist NA. But it's published by Dolphin Hat Games. And we talked to the people at Dolphin Hat Games at Origins, and we love Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. This one is very much in the same vein as that game. The way it works is you have a stack of cards. You deal out the cards equally to all players, and those cards have various pastries on them. And then you have a stack of larger cards that are bacon cards. So if it's your turn, you flip over a card that's in front of you, and then it goes around the table. And if at any point 2 of the same card are showing, then you have to slap the center. You have to slap the bacon in the center. Whoever does that first gets the card. Very similar to Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, right? So you're slapping the stack in the middle. And if you slap it first, you get that bacon card. Whoever collects 10 bacon cards first is the winner. There are 3 special cards in everybody's decks. There is a bacon card, and if somebody flips over a bacon card, then everybody yells bacon. For some reason in my family, that's not in the rules, but everybody's like, bacon! And then you slap the bacon card and you get that card. There is a card that is called the clap, clap, flapjack. And if that comes up, you yell, well, I think you clap twice and you say clap, clap, flapjack, and you slap the bacon. If you do that first, then you get the card. There is a card that's awful waffle. If the awful waffle comes up, you, I think, cover your eyes and say awful waffle and then slap the bacon, and whoever slaps the bacon gets the bacon card. That's pretty much the entire game. This one is definitely in the rotation for my family. We will play Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza and Steal the Bacon, probably an equal amount at this point.
Have you actually
it's a lot of fun.
played this at breakfast while eating bacon?
No, yeah. The grease would just really just mesh well.
Well, you didn't sleeve it?
No, this is not a non-sleeved game.
Wow. How dare you?
Well, I didn't sleeve Taco Cat. Did you sleeve Taco Cat Goat Cheese
You
Pizza?
gotta be yoking me. Breakfast. Baby.
Breakfast, but it's bacon.
Are you done with Still the Bacon?
I think so. It's not, it's not a deep game
You're
by
really
any, any means.
burning through these quick games that you're talking about.
Well, yeah. I mean, not every game has to be a 3-hour affair,
No, but you did.
We recently went over Labor Day on a vacation, and when we go on vacation with the family, we play a lot of lighter games. Typically, we get some heavier ones in there every once in a while, but a lot of times it's the lighter fare. We can all play together.
I like that.
And this is a good one.
So you said it was pastries and bacon that you're looking at?
It's pastries that are. Let's look at some cards here.
Or is it like waffles and like breakfast things? Or is it Because when you said,
it is. No, you're right. It is breakfast things.
okay, I was going to be excited because essentially we're in Colorado and you could go to Voodoo Donuts and play this game then if it had been pastries because they've got the
the reason why I kind of
maple bacon donut.
I kind of got confused because there's a lot of whipped cream on the waffles, and so they look kind of pastry-ish, but it is the breakfast theme. So you're right. That egg joke was amazing, Tyler.
It was.
It was.
What do you guys think of Voodoo Donuts?
I do not like it.
It's a little overrated. Right?
For me,
I went in Portland years ago, and it was like, meh.
Less is more for donuts generally for me. I don't want like Milky Ways and Snickers and
it's over
like
the top.
all this kind of stuff on my donuts.
Yeah.
It's an experience though that like if you're in Portland or if you're in Denver, it's probably worth trying. The first night I was in Colorado, I actually went to Voodoo Donuts. The people I moved in with that I didn't know at all, I just moved in with a random group of people, and they decided, hey, let's go to Voodoo Donuts. And they took me to Colfax at 11, 12 o'clock at night to go to Voodoo Donuts.
Did you get shot at?
No, I didn't. So those who may not know.
Did you get mugged?
No, but I realized very quickly that this is probably not the place that I should be at this time of night.
Little shady. Yeah. We went to a concert with some friends and we did the same thing. It was around 11 or 12 after the concert was over and went and got some donuts. And yeah, it's a little, it makes you a little nervous in that part of town for sure.
But yeah, no, I was just curious because it looked like Steal the Bacon had could have had the maple donut bacon or maple bacon donut possibility. And I tried that one. That one was okay.
Maybe an expansion. Who knows? Who knows?
Where does the waffle couple often go on their summer holiday?
I don't know where.
San Diego.
That's not good.
It was better than I expected it was going to be, though. Ego was not something that I thought was going to come into play. So kudos to you reading that internet joke.
Way to Google.
Got to mix it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was still Kevin's bacon.
That was Steal the Bacon.
Still the bacon.
Not my bacon.
All right.
The bacon.
Speaking of lumberjacks, they're lumberjacks, right?
Your first transition was better. You can't use it a second time.
You got to transition it from the last game we talked about. It's got to be bacon.
Well, I wanted
it's got to be
go
bacon
after
related.
him.
Like
I wanted
mine.
to go after him.
Learn from my transition.
Your transition was terrible.
Speaking of cured meats.
Oh, yeah. Speaking
of lumberjacks.
Nailed it.
The other night when I played The Court of Miracles with Mark and Dan, I also got one of my all-time favorites to the table. This is Clans of Caledonia, which came out in 2017, and it's designed by Juma Al-Juju and published by Karma Games. And this game is amazing. We play it all the time on BGA, but there's just something about getting it out on the table. Even though it has a very small table presence.
Getting your magnifying glass out so you can see all the pieces.
Yep. It comes in a very small, tight, and compact box. We've talked about it a couple times on this podcast in some top 5 episodes. This game is one of my absolute favorites. It's up there in the top 3, if not my favorite game of all time. It is often compared to Gaia Project and Terra Mystica for some valid reasons. If you had told me, hey, here's 3 games that are pretty similar, one's a space theme, one's fantasy theme, and one's clans in Scotland, this would have been my third choice, just purely based off theme. But I love this game. It's better than those 2 games. Basically, over the course of the game, you are adding workers, lumberjacks or woodcutters, miners to the board. You're purchasing sheep and cattle, which you take them off your board and put them on the player board. You can also do cheese dairies, distilleries, fields, and bakeries. So those are all the different types of units that you can build, and you deploy them to the board. And each round, at the end of the round, you will collect resources, both money from your workers that are deployed, but also goods from those different types of buildings that you have deployed. And all those resources allow you to try and fulfill contracts. So there's end of round scoring based off of a unique condition each round. There's also end game scoring that's based off of how many contracts you've completed. There's some multipliers there based off of the types of goods on your contracts or the rewards on them. You also can get a bonus for having the largest connected settlement on the map, because when you're adding buildings or building new settlements or buildings on the map, you have to do it adjacent within whatever your shipping range is. So you also have your own clan. So in this last game, I was clan steward. Anytime I purchased goods or sold goods in the market, I would gain an extra coin. I started out with extra merchants, which you're limited each round. Your transactions in the market are limited to the number of merchants you have. I also started out with a shipping bonus. There are a bunch of different clans that you can play with and gain different bonuses from each one. One of the things that I do love about the game is the market. So as you buy goods, it drives up the price. And as you sell goods, it'll drive down the price of that good. So if I have a lot of whiskey, I can sell it one round and drive down the price. And then if I need it to fulfill a contract in the next round, I can buy it back. There's no high-speed trading. We found that out about a year into playing this. Dan told us that, and I was a little crushed at first, but it did not ruin this game. This game is amazing.
High-speed trading, meaning you buy and sell on the same turn.
You buy and sell the same good in the same round, right?
Right.
So basically, you could buy high or buy low and then sell high
to eke out $1.
And you are, of course, still limited by your merchants. So I feel like it's a good house rule. No. Okay. Well, anyway, either way, I love this game. It's one thing that is different about this game than Terra Mystica and Gaia Project. When you put out a new building, you're upgrading your buildings, and you have to bring back one of those buildings back to your player board. And so in this game, you're just constantly adding sheep and cows and milk, dairy farms, and that stays on the board. However, some contracts do require that you slaughter your sheep or your cow. The decisions that you have in this game from round to round, like this is a Euro game where I'm just constantly on the edge of my seat, excited, thinking 3 turns ahead. Well, if I go this way, I can do this, and I'll have just enough coins to do that. And there's so many different things to consider, whether you're trying to fulfill a contract or spread out to get the settlement bonus, or just trying to get enough stuff out there on the board so that you can reap the rewards at the end of each round. Love this game. I would love to see an expansion for it. It is an amazing game. The other night when we played, I had a settlement I had everything off my board except for 3 things, and everything was connected. I had a settlement size of 19, which is by far the most I've ever had. Dan had one that was 16. It was just an incredible game. It was so good to get it to the table. I love this game. Tyson, you need to play this game. And I'm not just talking about your on BGA where you're just clicking through it.
That's all I've played.
We should get the tiny game to the table. And play it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it. Money is so tight in this game, right?
Yeah.
And when you work out where it works out perfectly and you spend all your money and you get exactly what you want, it's just awesome that you can do that. On the other side, there's been so many times where I'm $1 short, and you can't quite do what you want to do. You're like, it gets crappy. I can't buy this contract, or I can't do this.
Right.
But when you get it to work out and get your kind of engine going, it's awesome.
Oh, it's so fun.
And I love that. And you really, to be successful at this game, you have to use your clan's powers and abilities, to the more efficiently than other players. And if you can do that and it works out, it's great. I love it.
Even the games where I know I'm not going to win based on how it's going, I'm still just totally like, how can I max this out? What can I do? It's still fun to try and just put together an awesome round of turns, and you're always thinking ahead of which path can I go down.
Yeah. Sometimes you have more money than everybody else, and you take like 4 or 5 turns after
I
everybody's
love
done.
that. That's my favorite.
Right.
And I try to be quick about it, but part of me wants to be like, oh, I'm going to take as much time as I want. I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
The meta within the game.
It's a good one.
It's one that I really want to get played on the table. As you said, Tyler, I've only played it on BGA, and I think I would really like it. I haven't fully grasped it on BGA, and I haven't spent the time to really fully invest in learning it as well as I should. So it's one I want to have on the table. And every time I see this game, like whether it's on social media posts or if I see pictures of you playing it, Tyler, or like I've seen it at Big Game Night a couple of times, its presence, even though it's small, like physically, I think that like it has this appeal to it with all the colors of the wooden pieces and all over the board, and it's got this visual draw to it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I love the art. I think it's just cool. My soul gets happy when this is out on the table, and it's a perfect excuse to listen to the Braveheart soundtrack. So,
speaking of lumberjacks, my next game is a game called Photosynthesis, in which you're chopping trees down.
Oh, that's terrible.
That is the whole game.
How does the forest feel about this?
Really great. It's the life cycle of a tree. So Photosynthesis is a game designed by Hjalmar Huck and is published by Blue Orange Games. This came out in 2017, so I've had it since it came out. And when I did, this was one of the few games that my wife will actually play with me, and she actually really enjoys this one. It has a really spectacular presence. It has these 3D trees in 4 different colors. So if you're playing a 4-player game, everybody gets a unique set of trees, and they have different heights and they have different colors. And so once everybody is going through the game, this board can look really, really pretty. But essentially what you're doing in this game is you're going through the life cycle of a tree and creating and gaining points by basically making the most efficient tree life cycle. So everybody has a player board, and every round there is a sun piece that literally rotates the board. After, I think it's 3 or 4 rotations around the board, I think it's 3, the game will end, but the sun is progressing incrementally across the board. And each time it's doing that, you're getting light points on your turns by getting the sun shining on your trees. So the interesting thing about this is that it's got this 3D element to it, where the placement of your trees that you're putting out on the board, it's this area control kind of game, and you're trying to grow your trees, cut them down, and make sure they're placed in a position in which they're going to optimally get sunlight. And it's actually really kind of a cutthroat kind of game, especially at like 2 players, because if you get your trees at a higher level than your opponent, you can block light on their trees and cast shadows. And if you cast a shadow, it means that their tree's not going to get light. And so they're not going to get these light points. And so every round, your currency is these light points. And with those light points, you can purchase new seeds. You can purchase tree upgrades, like grow your trees. You can purchase different things that you put on the board and kind of increase your forest. And then once you get your tree to its 4th level, so it's sapling, small little sprout, medium-sized tree, and large full-grown tree. Once you get it to a full-grown tree, and you can cut it down. And when you cut it down, you're going to score a number of points based off of where it's located on the board. So the board, it has like a number of concentric rings towards the center, and at the center there's exactly one space exactly in the middle, and that is the most desired spot because it scores the most points when you cut down the tree in there. And so when you cut down these trees, you get to take a scoring disc, and this scoring disc is going to have a number from, like, usually it's like, I think 20, 21 is the highest number, all the way down to like 10 or something like that. And so you're drawing discs, and that the amount of points you're earning for each tree you cut down decreases every time somebody scores a tree. So you're trying to score your trees first before anybody else to get the most possible points. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins. This is a game, like I said, I've had for a long time. I've played it a lot. It's relatively simple. It's really a quick game that has this really beautiful physical presence. And every time I play, it's got some interesting, like chess-like strategic play experiences.
Nice. I saw this game recently at REI.
Oh, what?
As weird as that is.
Really?
Yeah, I blew a tire on my mountain bike. I'm like, I gotta go get a new tire. And I looked down on the shelf and there was Photosynthesis.
Did they have Wingspan too?
They did not have Wingspan. They had like Trekking the National Parks or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, thematically,
yeah,
it makes sense. You know, an outdoorsy themed
it's
game.
Interesting where games pop up
Right.
in places, right?
Yeah, it really is. No, this game looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I have a game called Bosk.
Yep.
You guys heard of this one?
Yes.
Another tree game that has the 3D pieces that looks, you know, really pretty as well. But I've never played Photosynthesis. It looks great. It's one I want to try out.
And I've never played Bosk because I own Photosynthesis, and I saw Bosk and I was like, huh, it came out, I believe, after Photosynthesis.
Yeah,
and I was
it
like,
did.
oh, that's just like a Photosynthesis light or like a knockoff of Photosynthesis. So I'll just keep Photosynthesis. But it's one that, yeah, it looks beautiful. It'd be one I'd be interested in trying.
And have you ever taken the tree from Everdell and played with it in Photosynthesis?
That would be a ginormous tree. It would cover the entire board.
Oh, okay. And you
Could be
still wouldn't
fun.
able
You
to
could
see
house
the
rule
board.
something, right?
Yeah.
If you
right?
chopped that one down, it would be worth a lot of points, but I think a lot of critters would be upset with that.
Yeah.
So I think that wraps up the games we've been playing lately. And like Tyler said, he's come up with a new story for Everdell and how it goes through. It creates this thematic experience that creates potentially a movie-like experience. I think that leads
On the
perfectly,
fly.
Wow.
On the fly.
Bravo.
perfectly into our discussion topic, which is...
Do you pay someone to write your transitions?
Yeah. Not you. That's...
Me?
Yeah, it's Kevin. Speaking of bacon.
Yeah, what the heck was that?
That was the smoothest transition we've had on this podcast.
That was good.
Yeah.
Our top five, yeah. We wanted to do something a little different, you know, kind of, this is a unique top five. It could be really good or it could be terrible.
Yeah, you may want to stop listening right now.
So I don't know who wants to go first. I don't want to go first.
Our top five is games that need to be movies, right? And I think we all define this however we wanted, but I think generally speaking, we're coming down to games that have this experience that we think a picture in our head that you could make a movie out of this game.
And we're not talking about softballs like Nemesis. Oh, hey, let's do an alien game out of Nemesis.
Wait a minute,
right?
that's on my list. Just kidding.
No, so we tried to avoid some obviously IP games and potentially, I don't know. At least I did.
Yeah, I didn't put something like Lost Ruins of Arnak on my list because it was...
I thought for sure Kevin was going to do it.
It was going to
Well,
be...
I guess we'll see.
Oh.
Yeah, to me, that seemed like, oh, that's clearly an Indiana Jones movie. I tried to do movies that didn't actually exist, or at least I could find a different take.
And if someone did, that's okay. It's not a big deal.
They'll just be mocked a little bit.
My family suggested Ink and Gold, and I was like, that feels a little bit like Indiana Jones. And I'm sure there's a possibility that someone might do that one deck building game, Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Oh, the one that shall not be mentioned by name? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no. I mean, it's a award-winning game. It's great. Yeah, we want to talk about games that should be movies. And we're not doing softballs. We're not doing IPs. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. Could be terrible. Could be great. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
Listen to find out.
So my number 5 of a game that should be a movie is Viticulture. So I chose Viticulture as my first one to go over because I thought, well, first of all, it's really easy to cast who should be in Viticulture, because on those Papa and Mama's cards, it looks like on the Papa side, it looks like Tom Hiddleston, right?
Yeah, Loki's in there.
So I wanted to make a rom-com kind of a movie out of Viticulture, starring Tom Hiddleston, and he is a owner of one of these vineyards. And he sits there and creates and gives tours to all sorts of different people. He's kind of a recluse that's really interested in his wine and making it. And I wanted this kind of rom-com experience where the main character, female, comes in and goes on this tour with him, and Tom Hiddleston. It's this back and forth, almost like
they just hit it off right away.
Yeah,
right?
they kind of. Yeah. Well, no, because a rom-com, you start with they don't like each other, right?
That's
so I
true.
wanted to. He's this like pretentious, annoying wine sommelier expert kind of a guy,
snobby.
Kind of snobby, and she breaks through his hard exterior, and they both end up together. That I feel like with the Tuscany hills, there's a lot that you could create, and I think it could create this really interesting kind of rom-com experience out of Viticulture. Plus Viticulture, there's a lot of like the art's beautiful in it, and I think you could pull from a lot of art direction from it. And I feel like there's a lot of good scenery and good option for it that you could make a good movie out of that one.
Would there be any explosions?
No, this is not that kind of a rom-com.
A light drama rom-com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
the
sounds
bar
good.
has been set.
I know. I mean,
there was a lot of plot there.
It could be just downhill from here.
I also thought it could have been, you could have gone a Romeo and Juliet type of a way with this, where you have two rival vineyards and the Capulet Montague kind of a vibe going on.
Did you look at my notes a little bit? No, I don't know.
Wow.
Please tell me that you also chose the same thing and did the exact same plot.
No, I didn't.
That would be amazing.
That would mean it would need to be made. For those who don't know, Viticulture is a game designed and published by Jamie Stegmaier, Stonemaier Games. And in it, it's a worker placement game where you're trying to go through and develop the best vineyard and create the most wines, fulfill contracts and send out orders and do different things. There is a mama and a papa of each vineyard create your design. And essentially what I was thinking is at the end of this movie, they come together to form their own vineyard, and they're the mama and the papa of the vineyard that you've created at the end of this rom-com movie. So I like Viticulture as a game. I don't think it's my favorite Stonemaier game, but I felt like it was a good potential movie type of a game that you could get something out of that.
Yeah, with some beautiful scenery. Yeah. I actually considered it, but I left it off my list.
I did not consider it, but it is a good choice. I like it.
So that's my number 5, Viticulture.
Okay, so my number 5 is Dungeon Lords.
Dungeon Lords.
Yeah. Cool. So this one is designed by Vlada Chvátil. So he is probably most well known for Codenames and the many different variations of Codenames out there. Dungeon Lords has been around for a while. It's produced by CGE. So in Dungeon Lords, you take the perspective of the Dungeon Lord, and you are trying to keep those pesky heroes out of the dungeon that you have worked so hard to build with your imps and your different monsters, right? So the way the game plays, just to give you a little flavor of it, is you're the Dungeon Lord, you're setting traps, you're hiring monsters, you're building rooms, and these heroes will come into your dungeon. And based on how you build these traps and how you build the rooms and what monsters you're recruiting is how successful you will be to get rid of these pesky heroes from your dungeon. I think that's just an awesome theme and would make just an amazing movie, right? I don't think there's been any movie that's taken the perspective of the monsters, right, that I can think of, and have the heroes come through and try and take it away. You look like maybe you're thinking of something, Tyson.
What you're describing to me makes me think of, you could make a mockumentary kind of a film out of this, where it's like The Office style, or like What We Do in the Shadows kind of a thing, where you're going around and having like these hilarious experiences of of the mundane life of a monster kind of a thing.
Right. That would be awesome. My thought was that this movie would be developed in the style of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Ooh, nice.
So like a claymation type of thing.
Tim Burton directed.
Tim Burton would direct. And why not just throw in Danny Elfman to do the score?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You have to.
You
Absolutely.
have to do that, right? It would have kind of a darker vibe to it. I think the creativity that you could have developing these monsters would be just amazing. I mean, the general plot would be you're just trying to protect your home against these pesky humans that want to destroy it.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would too. I think it'd be amazing, right? So that's Dungeon Lords, my number 5.
So my number 5 is not my favorite game, but it is most people have heard of it. It is Exploding Kittens. So basically in this game, it's kind of Russian roulette with a stack of cards. You have some cards in your hand that you can mitigate and do things with, but you're drawing cards hoping you don't draw the Exploding Kitten card. It's very humorous. It's not the greatest game ever. My plot or the thought that I came up with is a whodunit mystery. Kittens on the Upper East Side of Manhattan keep exploding. Who is implanting them with bombs, and what are their motives for wreaking havoc on the Manhattan socialites? With Daniel Craig reprising his role as Benoit Blanc from Knives Out.
Oh my gosh.
So that's my number 5, Exploding Kittens.
Now, is this going to be marketed towards kids?
No, absolutely not.
No. Okay. All right.
What? Oh, and actually, Tyson just showed, apparently Netflix has the rights and is in developing. I had heard this. I forgot about this. Netflix has
developing
an Exploding Kittens show. I don't know if we know any details about it.
Oh, it's got to be a kid show. It's got to be a kid show.
I just pulled it up and it's TVG, so I'm assuming it's a kid show. This is not a Benoit Blanc kind of an experience.
This isn't going to be like grotesque cats being blown apart.
Pretty much all of my movies, for the most part, have some horror gore to them. So yeah, I want cats exploding
nice
in the movie. Yeah. Just ruining people's outfits and their decked out homes and Benoit Blanc coming in and doing his thing.
You're a Savini.
I don't know what that means.
Just Savini was a director of horror films.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Blood and gore.
So that's my number 5, a whodunit mystery, Exploding Kittens.
Nice.
I think that Tyler and I are on similar wavelengths.
I think we might be.
In different ways. Because mine is also a kind of a just chaotic kind of experience for my number 4. My number 4 transition is Galaxy Trucker. So in Galaxy Trucker, essentially what this is that you are a long haul space hauler, but your ship is not high quality and you're just basically putting scrap together and doing with it what you can to haul goods and alien species across the galaxy to their destination points. And a lot of chaos and craziness ensues and a lot of terrible things happen in the game. But what I was thinking is that this was a movie that would be directed by Seth MacFarlane, who you may know from like Family Guy or
The Orville.
Or The Orville, which is exactly what I was thinking. I've actually recently started watching The Orville and been going through that one and thought, you know what? This could be a very interesting parody style movie in which you have a down on his luck kind of former captain of like a space fleet going and trying to make ends meet because he's lost his job and now he's going through and creating what he can out of his life and going through almost like a rat race kind of a vibe where you're trying to get to the end to gain your reward. I thought there could be like this almost kind of a vibe of like a contest involved where everybody is trying to do this to win the competition. And at the end of the race, the person who gets it gets this grand spaceship that they can basically go back and explore the galaxy. And I just thought that Seth MacFarlane with the Orville stuff was just forefront on my mind of what he could do there. So That was my number 4, Galaxy Trucker.
It's got an amazing theme. Corporation Incorporated. I mean, it's awesome.
Nice.
The ships are actually built with sewer parts, right? Because that's what they're transporting. They're transporting sewer parts to the other end of the galaxy where they don't have them there, right? That's just hilarious to me,
awesome.
right? There would be potentially adventure because they're visiting planets. There's slavers. There's aliens that come and potentially destroy your ship.
Meteoroids,
Meteor showers,
like
right?
Everything happening that's just like you're going through an asteroid field and your ship gets parts of it blown off.
Right.
Like I feel
because it's made of pipes and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's shoddy workmanship, because you build it before you left. I mean, that's awesome.
Yep. So that was my number
Good
4.
choice. Good choice.
Galaxy Trucker.
My number 4 is Scythe. And I don't know if this made your guys' list or not. It may be an easy pick, but I think it would make an awesome game. Right?
It would.
Yeah.
So
it did make an awesome game. I think you're saying it would make an awesome movie.
It would make an awesome movie. It is obviously an awesome game. I think we all love Scythe, right? It would make an awesome movie. So for those that don't know the setting behind Scythe, it's set in an alternate 1920s universe, right? It's after what they call the Great War, and there are different factions in the land that are trying to basically gain power and get the most money. There's this mysterious factory that's in the middle that was kind of the city state for the war that was pumping out mechs and stuff like that. I think that setting would be amazing. And the setting that I want is kind of a Game of Thrones type of thing, where there's political intrigue and these factions are trying to gain power and they're backstabbing each other and they're trying to become the leaders of this area, this 1920s area. I think that would be just awesome. An awesome setting.
It would be an incredible movie.
Yep. Yeah. And obviously there's going to be the political intrigue. There's going to be the backstabbing, but who doesn't want to see huge mech battles?
I want to see some of those cards play out that give you the choices of helping the local farmer, slaughtering. Yeah, the encounter cards.
You see the cow and it's like a map on its back type of thing. Right? Yeah, there's so much that you could pull from the flavor text in the game.
And the artwork alone is so evocative that it creates the
Yeah, you got your storyboards right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The movie almost makes itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Game of Thrones style Scythe would be my choice. So that's my number 4. Scythe.
Nice. So Patchwork is my number 4. Patchwork, you say. If you're not familiar with it, it is a Uwe Rosenberg polynomial game where you put out the tiles and you're trying to make the best quilt, right?
That sounds amazing.
Who
wouldn't want to see that movie?
Well, hold on a second.
No, remember, I'm throwing you back to his comment about all of his things has some sort of gore in here.
So this is one that doesn't.
I'm thinking knitting needles to the heart.
No, they're actually making quilts.
There actually could be, but here we go. So you're trying to build the best quilt, right? A thrilling, edge of your seat movie. Well, no, it's going to be a mockumentary that highlights the seedy underbelly of the 50s knitting versus quilting turf wars in a small Americana town in the Midwest. Rivals played by Kathy Bates and Catherine O'Hara, who is the mom in Home Alone. Bribe / steal needles and extort their way to their local fair's Best in Show award. I think Office style mockumentary. I think this would be hilarious. Patchwork, my number 4.
You've actually sold me on that. Like I could see an actual movie coming out of that. I don't know about if I'm convinced on the mockumentary style of it, but I could see like a straight up comedy or a mockumentary. I could see that happening. Yeah.
Was there a seedy underbelly for knitting?
Well, there was somewhere in the 50s. Someone got jealous somewhere.
You think so?
Yeah, there were rival factions within this town.
There had to be. It's like, have you guys seen the King of Kong documentary?
I haven't seen that.
It's about King Kong, like the video game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And There is a seedy underbelly for that game.
Really?
You should absolutely watch that. It's King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters is the name of it.
Okay.
And kind of a similar vibe to what you're explaining. There's seedy underbellies to all kinds of things out there.
I was bouncing ideas back and forth with Logan and my wife, and Betty White's name was thrown out, but she's since left us, as has the grandma in Raising Hope. Both of them would have been perfect.
I was thinking Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, she's not one of my favorites. So
Me neither, but I feel like this would be her style of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially under the tutelage of Kathy Bates. She would be like second in command in the quilting faction. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go.
Another mockumentary, just throwing it out there. Obi-Wan Kenobi, meatpacking on Tatooine mockumentary. It was right there. It was perfect. They could have done it. Instead, we got Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You've been on
fighting
this.
Darth Vader again. No, it was a missed opportunity. It could have been a meatpacking on Tatooine.
I said I was on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah, that's gone off the rails.
Now we're all sorts of different spots. No.
All right, that was my number 4, Patchwork.
So my number 3 is a game that I think lends itself to something that Tyler was talking about earlier. I'm picturing Benoit Blanc as well in what I was doing. I was thinking about this whole thing, a Knives Out kind of a film. But the game I'm talking about is Mysterium. So for those who are not familiar with Mysterium is this game where it's an abstract game with beautiful artwork in which one player plays as a ghost that is trying to help solve its own murder. And you're prompting, you can't talk to the players. You can only give them these art cards that tell a story, and they have to piece together what the ghost is trying to say to them. So at first I was thinking it was this Rian Johnson kind of Benoit Blanc film, and I still think I want that. I want Rian Johnson.
You're not allowed to say his name in this house.
I knew if I said Rian Johnson, your Star Wars hate would come up.
You love that.
I know I do. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if he does, I would want Rian Johnson to direct this, not necessarily Star Wars. We're not talking about sci-fi. We're talking about this murder mystery style movie in which Rian Johnson is doing it, but kind of at a Clue-esque Tim Curry kind of a vibe where you get this house full of characters, or Murder on the Orient Express, that type of a movie where everybody gets together, somebody dies in the house, and then their ghost is part of this group. And at first they all think they're being haunted and they're freaking out and what is going on. But then they realize that it's the ghost that was killed, and that ghost is trying to help solve its own murder. And you go through this kind of Clue style movie of who is it, who done it. And then at the end you have that resolution, and the ghost gets to go to the other side and complete its journey and is resolved. But I really like Mysterium as a game for like the art and everything it does. So again, I think it sets itself to have this really evocative and beautiful style, which is why I was thinking Rian Johnson Knives Out, because I think the cinematography in that movie is phenomenal. And so I would love to see more of that style of cinematography with a Mysterium game kind of movie setting.
Interesting.
Nice. Okay. My number 3 is Galaxy Trucker.
Do you have a different plot?
It was a similar plot. It would be a comedy. Obviously a comedy, right?
I've suspected that you also picked Galaxy Trucker when Tyson said it.
Well, yeah, because like I mentioned before, when we were talking about it before, there's adventure, going to different planets. There's so much that you could put into this. It's obviously it'll be a comedy. It'll be kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. I also, thought about it would make fun of, traditional tropes of other movies. I thought about that as well. I don't know who would be in it. Chris Pratt, maybe. Who knows? But it could be, there's just so much you could do with it. I don't know. We talked about it already, but that's my That's my number 3, Galaxy Trucker. It's kind of funny that we picked the same one.
Yeah.
Awesome. So my number 3 is a crossover movie. Santa Cookie Elf, Santa Candy Snowman, which is the Christmas version of a game that Kevin mentioned earlier, Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, right?
Yep.
Flipping cards, and then it's a race to slap them, right? So that's my first part of my crossover. The second part of the crossover is Cthulhu Death May Die, which we are going to talk about at length in our next episode. It is a cooperative, amazing game that takes place in the Lovecraft mythos of Cthulhu. Awesome game. So I wrote this plot down, and I did use also the phrase down on his luck, but here we go. I'm just going to read it. Owen Wilson is Randy, a down on his luck divorcee trying to find his daughter the perfect Christmas gift. Chaos ensues as cultists dressed as Santa's helpers turn the mall's J.C. Penney into a ritual site. Randy must thwart the ritual by stealing the candy, cookies, snowman, and sacrificial elf from the evil clutches of the cultists. If he doesn't, Cthulhu Santa, played by Zoidberg from Futurama, is sure to be summoned and will ruin Christmas forever. Owen Wilson's trademark wows will abound in this Christmas cult classic.
Wow.
So there you go. I got crossover, a little bit of cheating, Santa Cookie Elf, Candy Snowman with Cthulhu Death May Die. That's my number 3. Nothing?
I'm processing.
I mean,
wow.
Okay. You really, did you submit these already to film executives?
No. We, my wife and I started talking, and the ideas started flowing, and we were having fun with it last night.
This is like a holiday Krampus style film.
That's exactly what Yep.
Yeah.
Because a Cthulhu Death May Die movie would be amazing. And
it would.
There are so many cool things that you could do with that, but yeah, I was thinking in the vein of Krampus.
Nice. And there's been some Lovecraftian stuff that's been done out there, but that sounds good.
Yeah.
The crossover. I think it'll work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right. I'll call him.
Yeah. Well, I thought you already had.
Oh.
You should, for sure.
So far, I'd watch any of these, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, so my next one, my number 2, is a game that is near and dear to my heart.
Sidereal Confluence?
Not Sidereal Confluence.
Is
we're
it
going to guess.
first-person shooter game?
It's not Adrenaline.
Tainted Grail.
I've never played Tainted Grail.
Oh my gosh.
How many more guesses do we get?
Well, I was going to say it like 5 times ago, but
Okay.
my number 2 is Anachrony.
Yeah.
Anachrony is a game in which there's... So it's hard to wrap your head around the theme of Anachrony, but essentially I had to go back and reread and rewatch this one so that I understood the theme. But essentially what happens is there is the purgation that occurs at the start of Anachrony, which is a cataclysmic event that puts society in a post-apocalyptic state, essentially, right? And in the game, it's a worker placement game where you have these mech suits and you're trying to go and gather resources and prepare because you're aware that there is another cataclysmic event coming where a meteorite is going to strike. And essentially, what you learn is that meteorite is containing this element called neutronium, which is a time-traveling element. And that same meteor strike that is about to happen is the same one that happened to cause the apocalypse. So
mind blown.
It's this mind warping thing.
It's this endless loop.
Right. And Anachrony is a game that we reviewed back in episode 7. So you can go hear our full thoughts on that if you'd like and in detail. But as a movie, I'm thinking that this would be a really great movie if it were directed by J.J. Abrams. He's one of my favorite directors, and he directed Fringe, which is a TV show that has a lot of parallel universe and time travel type of stuff in it.
The guy that played Denethor in it.
Yes, it has what is his name? John something. It has Denethor in it, and I love him as an actor, and I think that J.J. Abrams had a great job at writing this. I would like him to write a script that is basically that. And instead, though, I want to see some like political factions where you have these 4 different factions in Anachrony where they're all vying for who gets to control the world after the apocalypse. And I would love to see some like political intrigue kind of stuff going on where you have this manipulation and this deception and death and backstabbing and all that stuff. And I could see, like you mentioned earlier, Kevin, Chris Pratt, and I was thinking Tomorrow War, like somewhere in that vibe where they know something is going to come out and that something is happening and they're preparing for it. But you also have to compete against not only the impending apocalypse that is happening, but the warring factions and the deception and manipulation between these factions. I think that Anachrony, it's one of my favorite games. I think it could make a great movie.
It's sci-fi bank loans rethemed, right?
Yes.
The gameplay,
essentially.
bit.
Yeah, I mean the time travel is essentially taking a loan, but cooler,
but way cooler.
But spoiler alert for episode 7, we love that game.
Oh, it's
amazing.
It could be my number 1 game of all time. Still,
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, I love the thought of time travel and the whole a future cataclysmic event that caused the past cataclysmic event, and you're in that time frame in between those 2 things. And because the time rifts have opened up, you can see into the future and know that it's going to happen again. It's like mind blown.
Yeah, my brain hurts.
And when I thought about this game a little bit, and I think, Christopher Nolan would be amazing.
He was another one that I had thought would be do it justice with like Tenet and Inception.
Like I thought of Inception and the way that he did that. It's like if he could do this movie and get the time travel right.
Have you seen Tenet?
I have not seen Tenet yet.
Oh, that's Inception with time travel.
Oh, I watched like a 20-minute preview of it before another movie. I started watching
that one.
Yeah. But I think he would do.
Isn't that the worst though when you like go to see a movie and you see a preview and it's like, can I just watch that instead of what we're here to watch?
Yeah, it was like the auditorium when they're in the auditorium. That's the only part of the movie that I've seen. And there's a lot of gunfire.
That's the first scene, which is really good.
That's what I saw that as a preview. And
I did that. I had that experience, Tyler, where I went and I think I was seeing. Might have been Morbius. I don't know. It was not something that I remember caring about. And they showed Top Gun at the start of it, like an extended. And I was like, I would much rather be watching Top Gun now. So
yeah. Another thing I thought, the exosuits. Yeah. Like if you get the exosuits right.
Oh yeah.
The sounds of them.
Yeah, you could do so many
lighting. You
could just do so many cool things, and being in the exosuits and going out into the wasteland.
Oh, absolutely.
The nomads. You could do all kinds of stuff with the nomads because that's part of the game. You're trading with the nomads. The scarcity of water. Like there's all kinds of stuff you could do with Anachrony.
I agree.
It's a good one.
That's why it was my number 2.
My number 2 is a game that I discovered recently that is skyrocketed up in the ranks for me, and that is Aeon's End.
Nice.
This game just sets up perfectly for a movie. I think the only request that I would have is the concept art. I hope is a little bit better than the actual art in the game. That's little nitpick about the game is I just think the art's a little bit goofy. And we talked about that. We did a feature review of this one not too long ago. I don't remember what episode it is, but we all liked it. I think Tyson, you missed out on that one.
I did not get to try this one.
Yep. Aeon's End. So the way it plays, it's a cooperative game. You are survivors of a long ago invasion, and you have taken refuge in a forgotten underground city called Gravehold. There are these breaches that have opened up, and there is what's called the Nameless that has come through these breaches, and they're trying to destroy Gravehold. The survivors have learned how to harness these gems, and the gems allow them to manipulate these breaches where they can fight back. And the people that do this are called breach mages. Just awesome. They're casting spells. There's these terrible monsters that are coming through and trying to destroy Gravehold. That whole concept to me is just fascinating, and I think a lot could be done with that, exploring that whole concept. So Aeon's End is, I think, ready to be made into a movie.
When you're talking about that, I almost picture in my mind the animated show The Dragon Prince on Netflix. And I could see something in the vein. I know you would probably not go for the animated version, right?
I mean, I'm not opposed to animated shows, but I haven't gotten into, Clone Wars and other animated shows.
So that's what I was thinking of. This one is it's perfect for a movie.
Yeah.
Again, this is another one that my family suggested, and I was like, nope, there's no way, because I'm pretty sure Kevin's going to do that one.
See, I love this game, and just the theme comes out, I think, pretty strong in the game. I mean, there's not a whole lot of backstory when you read through the rule book. There's a bunch of expansions that kind of explore that story a little bit more. There's legacy versions of the game that, there you go. It could be a trilogy.
What you described to me made me think it was like a fantasy Terminator. Like you got Skynet coming and trying to destroy the last colony. But I mean, that's not to say that's a bad thing, because I love Terminator, and I love the idea of having like the last stronghold of civilization going out against whatever's trying to basically, I mean, Matrix is the same way,
it's one of those, like, there's insurmountable odds.
Rain of Fire
that you're going to win, or you're going to protect the city, and you end up doing it. Yeah. Like a Matrix type of thing. Yeah. That type of movie. I think it'd be awesome. So that's my number 2, Aeon's End.
Nice. I like that. So going back to my Patchwork, I've got a sequel idea where the crocheters come in. No. Okay.
If this is your number 2, what's the game we're talking about?
So my number 2 is a game that's on my shelf of shame. I have not actually played it, but I love the concept of it. It is Excavation Earth, and I'll just read briefly from BGG. A century from now, all that remains of Earth is the detritus that humanity left behind. The races of a neighboring solar system have a penchant for artifacts left behind by extinct races. In Excavation Earth, you lead one of these races of alien explorers on their quest to excavate rare human artifacts and curate the ultimate art collection to sell off. So you're taking them back. There's some black market selling. You can put them back in a museum back home. Whoever gets the most money during the course of the game, they win. This is a game by a designer that I really enjoy, David Turchi, and it came out in 2021. I'm excited to finally get this off of my shelf of shame at some point. Here's my idea for the movie. Okay, picture this. You've got, a rom-com where an elderly human male played by Kurt Russell, who somehow survived Earth's desolation, is found by the scavenger alien Shellac, who must hide him from her superiors. An unlikely bond and romance forms as Shellac and her elderly lover search for a prized Bob Ross original painting.
Lost me at Bob Ross.
They're collecting artifacts, right? To take back. I thought Roger Maris's 61st home run ball, maybe, but no. I mean, everybody knows Bob Ross.
Everybody knows Bob Ross. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's my rom-com idea. Elderly Kurt Russell, becoming friendly with an alien of a different species, and
I don't know how
hilarity and shoes.
I don't know how I feel about this.
I know.
I'm kind of speechless.
And
sure.
maybe she teams with a rival alien faction to keep him hidden. And
I thought that Patchwork was going to be your most original idea. This seems like it's the most.
Oh, just wait.
Original. Okay.
No, I'm just
excited.
kidding.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like the reaction I've got from all of my games tonight have been like, huh. Okay.
Well, I think they're great. I think they're great ideas. I just don't know how I don't know what to say.
I don't either. Yeah.
Well, would you watch this movie?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got Kurt Russell in it. I
love Kurt Russell. That's
he's
fair.
amazing.
I mean, if I saw this preview before another movie that I was going to see, I'm not going to lie. I'd probably turn to my wife and say,
glad we're watching this movie.
Yeah.
That was
really
unique.
scraping the bottom of the barrel now, you know. But it could be.
Well, I mean, in the age of just doing remakes and existing IPs, I mean, this is out there that's unique and it's different.
I think it could work.
There is a lot of social undertones that could be explored with. Yeah,
there could be some depth to this.
I'll tell you what.
Sure. Yeah.
You write up the script. And I'll read the script, and we'll go from there.
No, you won't. I'm not wasting my time on that.
Yeah, we're all going to write scripts for these ideas.
No, I just wanted Tyler to write a script. That's all.
No, that's awesome.
All right, that was my number 2, Excavation Earth, soon to get off my shelf of shame. Maybe. Possibly.
So that leads us to our number 1s. My number 1 game that should be a movie is one we've actually already talked about. It's Scythe.
Okay.
And so for all the same exact reasons that Kevin went over, like I think this is a gorgeous board game that has a lot of potential and there's so much you can do to it. You mentioned as well, Kevin, not for Scythe, but you mentioned Christopher Nolan. I did not choose Christopher Nolan for Anachrony because I wanted to save Christopher Nolan for Scythe because I could see him doing this almost like The Prestige. So like I love The Prestige, and it's the same type of time period, and that is also kind of this alternate history kind of 1920s type of an experience. And if you haven't read the first page of Rise of Fenris and you don't want any sort of spoiler whatsoever, skip for the next 5 seconds. But spoiler alert, I think that Tesla being in there would be awesome. Yeah. And like, I mean, unfortunately, David Bowie is dead and cannot reprise the Tesla role.
I didn't know that.
He died in 2016.
Man.
Yeah. So he couldn't reprise the role of Nikola Tesla that he did in The Prestige, but I could see that being so good, and there's so much potential there. All the things that you said, Kevin, I totally on board. So would love to see a Scythe movie.
That'd be awesome.
Agreed.
I thought you might go with Tricarion for your number 1 and just say The Prestige, right? I have a prediction for what your number 1 is.
Yeah, you probably know what it is.
It's Anachrony. No?
It is Anachrony. It is absolutely Anachrony. And it's hilarious to me that we have 3 crossovers, Tyson.
Yeah.
And the one that surprises me most is Galaxy
Trucker.
I'm like, right? How did that happen?
That would have been like if someone would have come up with Patchwork.
Right.
With me.
Yeah. That's part of really random. So no, it is Anachrony. I had stuff to say when Tyson brought it up as your number, was it 2 or 3? 2, number 2. For all the reasons we already talked about, I just think the time travel would be incredible. The story is amazing. It's an original story. We've gone over it quite a bit already. Anachrony would be my number 1 game to make into a movie, and Christopher Nolan should direct it, in my opinion.
I mean, I would not be upset with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think
that would be awesome. Yeah.
It would be.
So for my number 1, can I go?
I want to make a prediction of your number 1. Is it Lord of the Rings Risk?
No.
Journeys to Middle Earth.
No, I've had my Lord of the Rings fill lately. So my number 1, I'm actually going to tell you the plot, and then maybe you can guess what the game is. All right. If you didn't see my rule book,
I didn't see it.
Side. Okay, here we go. A campy, dark comedy where death row inmates are promised under the guise of freedom and wealth that if they travel through the portal to an unknown land of magic and monsters for the purpose of claiming a foothold on the land for the government, little do they know their wardens plan to use their bodies to construct dwellings if they survive the horror
I thought
that
you
awaits.
would do this. I thought you Dwellings of Eldervale.
Yeah.
I thought you would do this one.
Yeah. So I mean, death row inmates, they survive. They kill them off and make houses out of their body parts.
Out of the
Kind of terrifying.
you got some dark movies, but
I mean, Dwellings of Eldervale. It's a beautiful game.
It is.
Who is it from? It's from Luke Laurie and Breaking Games. And in this game, you play a mystical faction or humans or elves or whatever, and there's this magical land that you go to try and settle and try to inhabit this land. And there's spells, there's monsters that roam that are huge, and you can gain control of them. You're placing guys on the board. You have a dragon, you have a wizard, a warrior, simple workers, and your workers are limited. But at a certain point, you have to turn them into settlements. And amazing mechanic, you put a little roof on the meeple and turns them into a settlement.
Oh, Mark loves that.
Mark loves it. I love it too, but for real. I think it's awesome. It's a very clever way of limiting your worker as a resource. And
it's less a mechanic and more a gimmick, but that doesn't make it a bad thing.
It's like a house hat, basically.
It is a house hat.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't seen really in any other games. I'm sure there are other
very
games
unique,
that do.
Great Western Trail just started putting hats on their
Oh,
meeples.
no. I didn't buy the new version of that. So anyway, Dwellings of Eldervale, I think this, it's got monsters, it's got magic, it's got death row inmates who, it's a dark comedy. They're going to be slaughtered and they're going to be made into dwellings.
Nice.
Lampshades out of their skin.
Until you said that, I was far more on board.
You're getting into the territory of I'm speechless again.
Yeah, so. I was way more excited about this than Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell rom-com with an alien? That was awesome.
I don't think I want to see skin lampshades.
No.
But no, I like it though. I think it's good.
Well, we got into a serial killer discussion last night when we were talking about games, and
so you went down a whole certain path.
I did. Well,
There is a theme to your games for sure. Yeah.
so that was my number one, Dwellings of Eldervale.
Nice. Very nice.
So I think we should throw it out there. Like, if you listen to this podcast, which 5 movies do you want to see the most? Kevin's or basically Tyson's, because there's so much overlap.
There's three
with
overlapping, but
slight variations.
There's a difference. I had
differences
Viticulture
there.
and Mysterium.
Or my
Dungeon
5 movies.
Dungeon Lords
And Aeon's
Aeon's
End.
on.
and
yeah.
Aeon's End.
Or, so should we recap what we did?
Let's do it. So number 5, Dungeon Lords, Nightmare Before Christmas style. Scythe, kind of political intrigue, Game of Thrones style for that one. Number 3, Galaxy Trucker, obviously a comedy. We're going to do number 2, Aeon's End, amazing sci-fi monsters, breach mages. And then the number 1, Anachrony, Christopher Nolan, doing time travel.
That's a tough list to beat. I mean, you're the lead horse.
Oh,
Tyson.
So my list is the Viticulture rom-com with Tom Hiddleston.
And Jake Gyllenhaal? It's...
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So my list starts with number 5, Viticulture as a rom-com starring Tom Hiddleston and doing that kind of maybe that Romeo Juliet, Montague Capulet kind of a vibe where you've got these 2 competing vineyards. And then I had Galaxy Trucker, directed by Seth MacFarlane, pretty much exactly what Kevin was saying, but I was thinking of the disenfranchised Starfleet captain that is now down on his luck, going out and building his ship and making his way in the galaxy. Then you've got Mysterium, directed by Rian Johnson in the style of Clue, where you've got the dead ghost murder mystery, whodunit, trying to figure out who killed them and that experience. Number 2 was Anachrony, directed by J.J. Abrams. Again, very similar to what Kevin was saying, this time travel, trying to prevent the cataclysm, but also having that political intrigue and kind of backstabby warring between that faction who you're competing against, surviving the apocalypse and avoiding the machinations of the different factions in the world. And then finally, Scythe, as directed by Christopher Nolan, doing a kind of a prestige alternate history, focusing on the factory and having beautiful scenery, everything again that Kevin said. So we had a lot of overlap.
Nice. So yeah, let us know who you like the most. My list, I had Exploding Kittens, mystery whodunit mystery with Benoit Blanc inspecting the Upper East Side of Manhattan and all those socialites in their high society. My number 4 was a Patchwork mockumentary starring Kathy Bates and Catherine O'Hara, rival quilting and what did I say? Knitting factions within a small town. Santa. My number 3 was a crossover between Santa Cookie Elf, Candy Snowman, and Cthulhu Death May Die. Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Again, down on his luck, divorcee, trying to impress his daughter, gets stuck at the mall. Cultists show up. He's got to steal that sacrificial elf and disrupt the ritual to prevent Cthulhu from ruining Christmas. Number 2, Excavation Earth. Rom-com, Kurt Russell, an alien, forbidden love, an unlikely bond. What can I say more? And number 1, Dwellings of Eldervale, inmates that are promised wealth and freedom if they survive this magical land of spells and monsters, only to find out their bodies are to be turned into dwellings when they die.
So there's a lot of choices around there, and I would love to see what people think out of those. But I'd also be very curious if anybody has thought of this before for themselves and have great movie ideas from board games, because
let's hear your ideas.
Yeah,
I'd love to.
We're going to throw a poll up, and we're not talking about the best games. We're talking about the best movies. We're going to throw a poll up on our Discord, vote on it. Join our Discord if you're not already a member. But this is our top 5 games that need to be movies.
Let's make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody out there who has connections with Hollywood, just
like I said
or
earlier.
Kurt Russell, let Tyler know.
Yeah. Right?
I'm sure, like movie executives are listening, like I mentioned earlier. Call us.
Yep. Let us know.
Join our Discord.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Toadsins.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Thanks for listening. Episode 21, movies.
Movies that should be board games.
Going to talk about a game that was originally
Pumbled.
Kevin and Mark. Nope. What did I do?
You didn't do anything. I don't know if
You're
there's
going
a
to want to cut that
transition.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know what we were doing.
We just trying to bacon structure. What?
What?
You just questioned your own joke? Did you just say what to your own?
What was that last one?
I don't know.
Just about
You're
bacon?
baking me crazy.
What is happening right now? I'm trying to think of a pun. I guess I'm just completely thrown off my game with those jokes.
Yeah, I think Tyler was too, though. That was the thing.
Going back to Tyson's game. Nope.
Fast Flowing Forest Fellers by Freedom and Freeze.
At Fremont High.
Sure.
I don't know what's happening.
If you need pointers, I can help you out.
But again, a transition is only as good as it allows you to transition, which that didn't. So my number 4 has already been done. So I'm going to move on to my number 3. I started, so we're on 3 now. So sorry, that was a mess
Water
up.
break.